a joy to see. Freaking you. Is there a freak in you? Come and talk to me.
Hello loves, welcome. If you're new to my channel, I'm Robin Siobhan and you are tuned into my channel Savvy Speaks. Savvy stands for soulful, alive, vivacious, victorious, and always yearning. And on my channel, I only talk about real shit, deep shit, and inspiring shit, period. If you're not new to my channel, thank you so much for returning. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell so you can be notified when I post. And thank you so much. You guys are all appreciated. Hey loves, so today is a different day. I am not going to be doing content that I usually do. Today it's going to be a personal story of mine that I feel really needs to be shared because someone else might be going through the same thing. And so God was telling me to put this out. Whenever you get a feeling that you have healed from something and that somebody else might need help from it, share your story. Don't keep it in. We all go through stuff. We all need help. So share your story. Share your testimony. Someone might need it one day. Okay, back on the record. Today, I'm going to be talking about the passing of my dear mother, Sharia Robinson. I'm going to start off with the last day that I saw my mother. She was actually alive and not in a coma. It was the day after my mom threw a big graduation party at our house for my sister's graduation. When I say it was big, like bouncy houses, water dunk tank, friends and family and neighbors, like a whole block party type shit. Like, it was awesome. But I'm just saying they're bouncy houses because it pertains to my story. Before I used to go to work, I used to go over to see my mother. And so this day, I went over to see her and she was watching my nieces and nephews play in the bouncy house. When I saw her, I knew something was wrong because she was in a trance-like state. She wasn't really aware of what I was saying. She was acknowledging, but she wasn't really aware. And she was just staring off into the distance. Like, she was watching the kids, but I could tell like she was somewhere else. And so I felt something was wrong. I asked her if she was okay. And she said, yeah. I went and gave her a hug. She barely gave me a hug back. It wasn't like her usual hug, like her, I love you. It wasn't one of those. It was just like, so that's another thing. As I was leaving, walking off the porch, I looked back and she was still in that trance-like state. It was like she was in deep thought. It's like she was in real deep thought and she was not aware of anything going on around her. I worked at Amazon overnight, and while I'm working, I get a call from my little sister at 4 o'clock in the morning saying that my mother's in the hospital and they will not let her see her. Now, when I tell y'all, God is good, even when you don't think that whatever's going on is fair, God is good. When I tell y'all I only had 10 miles to E and I was 20 minutes away from the hospital, I made it to that hospital without running out of gas. God is good. So I get to the hospital, I hug my sister, I ask the usual questions, what's going on? Is everything okay? What's going on? Nobody knows what's going on. The doctors won't tell us anything. And you know, we're crying, tearing, like tore up, you know, this is our best friend, our mother in the hospital. So we're just crying, tearing up, just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. After about an hour of us waiting, they let us see her. This is when I realized the hospital that we were in were negligent in doing their job. When I walked in the room to see my mother, she was seizing on a hospital bed. Like, really seizing. My big sister tells them that she's seizing, and they said, yeah, she's been doing that. And so we're wondering, why the hell haven't y'all given her any seizure medicine? What's going on? What's really going on? So when we kept demanding to give her medicine, they finally gave her the seizure medicine. Seizure medicine kicked in, she stopped seizing. After that, my big sister goes around doing what she does, the investigator of the family basically, goes around asking the nurses, the doctors out there, getting information from the doctors, the nurses, the security guards, EMT, all of them. And through the investigating, we found out that my mother drove herself to the hospital. And I believe she was already disoriented when she arrived at the hospital because she was banging on the emergency door trying to get in. And one of the nurses took it upon herself to not let my mother in and told my mother, it's COVID, go around. It's COVID, go around. She didn't check to see if my mother got around to the other side, to the other door of the hospital. And mind you, this side of the hospital, the emergency side is all the way on this side. You had to go all around, halfway around the hospital to get to the entry door. So this woman didn't check between those times. She didn't check. So 15 minutes later, the EMTs found my mother on the side of the hospital, unconscious. And they said that she was unconscious and without oxygen to her brain for about 15 minutes. So she could potentially be brain dead. A couple hours later, through this day, they finally got her upstairs. They do the brain scans. And they tell us that she is brain dead and that there's no coming back from it. And that we need to take her off of life support. Because if we don't, she's just going to be a vegetable or die. Let me remind you, this is in 2020, so this is when COVID was running rampant, and this is when all the regulations were in place. So only one of us was allowed to be up there at a time when it came to seeing my mother. So my beautiful aunt took the initiative to stay with my mother, and one day they called a meeting for us to come and talk about what's going on with my mother, and that's when they told us that she is brain dead and that we need to take her off life support. She's not going to survive once we do take her off life support, or she might just be a vegetable. We had faith in God. We had faith. We was like, no, we're not going to just take our mom off life support. We're going to pray. We're going to continue to do whatever we got to do. She's not going to be, no, she's going to be okay. God got this. Because, you know, she was a hard-going Christian, so we thought, like, you know, God got this. God's not going to let her go. She's a great person. She got so much going on. Like, no. I hated seeing the tubes in her. I hated seeing all of that stuff connected to her. But we just had so much faith that she was going to come back to us. Had so much faith that she was going to come back to us. So my mother was in a coma all of June. And during those times that we would go see her one at a time, my mother opened her eyes. My mother squeezed our hands. My mother even started crying one time when I was in the room. And with my other sisters too, she cried. She held their hands. She wasn't talking, of course, because they said she was brain dead. And then they said whenever she opened her eyes or squeeze her hand, that's just the brain still working certain things. But I believe she was trying to come back. And another incompetent thing that the hospital did while my mother was in their care was continue to give her blood pressure medication when we told them that she is allergic to it. So because they continued to give it to her, my mother's body swole up. During that time in the coma with the tubes and everything, she swole up. So her hands, her tongue, her throat, her mouth, everything was swollen. By the end of June, we were able to get her into a better hospital. We were ready to get those tubes out of her and ready to see if she was going to come back to us, if she was going to come back to her normal state, if the miracle was going to happen, basically. So the day we chose was July 2nd. And on July 2nd is the day we chose to remove the tubes. Remember, because of COVID, we were not able to all be at the hospital when those tubes were being removed. So my little sister and one of my big sisters, they were there. And the rest of us were on FaceTime watching everything. On July 2nd, 2020, the tubes were taken out. And my mother choked to death because her body was so swollen. And let me tell you, watching your mother pass away on FaceTime, it's not easy. It wasn't easy. It's not easy. It's not watching the breath actually leave your mother's body and seeing the heartbeat go from 100 to 0. It's not easy. It was hard. I'm surprised and I'm blessed and I'm glad. I thank God that I am still here because I almost gave up. I almost gave up. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have a son. I wouldn't have a family. I wouldn't be living the life I was living because I almost gave up. But God had different plans for me. God had different plans for all of my family. I miss my mother to death, but her death was my transformation. Her death taught me to love. Her death taught me to change. Her death taught me so much to life. And I miss her dearly, but I thank God for everything that she did teach me. I thank God for everything that she did do. I thank God for my mother, and I love her so much. And let me tell you something. If you're going through something like this, or if you ever do, you're going to get through it. You're going to get through it. Because God got bigger plans for you. And let me say another thing. If you work in the healthcare field, take your job seriously. Don't work there just for a check. You have people's lives in your hands. Take it seriously, please. It's not a joke. I'm not gonna put the hospital out there. I'm not coming up here to do any of that. I just know that I needed to share the story. One, to help me heal and to get it out there, because I know other people have went through certain traumas when it comes to losing their parents or loved ones. But I want you to know you're gonna make it. You're powerful. You are strong. If something feels like it's gonna make you break, it may feel like it for a little bit, but you are going to overcome it. Don't take your family for granted, because you'll never know the last time you'll see them. And always trust in God, because best believe when this happened, I felt every emotion. I took unhealthy substances daily. I drank daily. I partied a lot. I was depressed, but God knew I had a bigger purpose. God knows you have a bigger purpose. So I thank God that I didn't unalive myself like I wanted to. I didn't OD on anything that I was taking. I become the person I am today. If you lose someone special to you, cry it out. Let it out. Do not give up on yourself, because you have a bigger purpose in this world. You are here for a reason, and we don't always know why things happen, but they happen for a reason, and you are going to get through it. You are going to overcome it. You are powerful. I love you all. Everyone have a great day.